Hey guys, welcome to the Welding Business Owners Podcast. We're a podcast that are late, but our bids are on time. I'm your host, Kevin, with JMW Fabrication. Today, we got a brand new episode with Cody Johnston. So Cody reached out to me a little while ago with a really interesting question. And instead of just giving him a text answer response, I said, you know what? Hop on, let's record a podcast with this. And that's what this is. So Cody went through a rough time, like we all do with businesses, but he got really, really far into the hole and actually had to shut down his business. So he came on, we talked about what happened, what it looked like, what lessons he learned, and what he can do moving forward to restart his business and continue on with his welding business goals. You can check out Elite Welding Innovations on Instagram. If you don't know me, you can find me on Instagram, JMW Fabrication. You can also find the Welding Business Owners Podcast and the Fabricator Olympics. If you don't know, 2026, we are making this a 2-day event. We're going to be making this into a Welding Business Owners Summit. So the first day of the summit is going to be workshops to help you take your business to the next level. And second is going to be the Fabricator Olympics. So mark your calendars, September 11th and 12th, 2026, and we'll see you out there. And without any further ado, here's my talk with Cody. All right, Cody Johnston, how you doing, bud?
Good. How are you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good. This podcast is going to be a little bit of a different kind of podcast. You reached out to me a while back, almost a year ago, on Instagram, and it's funny because it went to the request side, and I didn't see it until like a few weeks ago, and so I apologize for that. But you had like a pretty in-depth question asking for some advice on a pretty complicated situation that you've been through, and instead of just texting back and forth about like what to do, I figured it might be better just to hop on and talk to each other face to face and like really dive in deep into what happened and the lessons you learned and where you're going from here. So thanks for being here, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I'm going to read your message to everybody so that they get the context of the message you sent me, and then we'll just kind of dig back into it. You know what I mean? Like we'll start from the beginning and you can just tell us the story long form rather than just in short form. All right? Cool, man.
Sounds good to me.
So this is the message you sent me. Hey, brother, been listening to your podcast for a month or so. Love the interviews. Wanted to run something by you and get your opinion and maybe the opinion of others. In 2022, I went into business with my dad, doing millwright work and welding work. November of 2023, he wanted out, so we planned a buyout of $100,000 with monthly payments of $4,000 a month. We had work doing subcontractor work and occasional jobs we got for ourselves. Sub work got slow and landed a gig with a custom home builder, which would turn around and bite me in the end. Work slowed down in April of 2024, and my company went under in July of 2025. Some of the guys messed up on some monorail stringers and cost me a day and a half worth of labor. Then once we delivered handrails to this lady, 480 feet worth, she backcharged me the only credit card payment I accepted from her, which was $27,000, and then stuck me with the steel bill of $21,000. At that point, I was done, gave up, and which I regret now, and I want to get back into it, but I'm terrified now. Kind of scrambled explanation of everything, but looking for your input. And I want to go back out for myself, but I scare myself out of it and back out of it. Wow, that's a heck of a story, man. So let's unpack that a little bit more. So let's back that up to in 2022, you went out into business with your dad. Tell me about how that kind of all started out and up into the point where he wanted out of it.
So growing up, my dad designed some equipment for carpet mills. And that's what he had always done was CAD design, which it was all just 2D CAD design. So he had a job at a local company, and that's what they built. Well, me and him talked back and forth, jumped back and forth a little bit, and I told him, I said, well, look, I want to go out. If you want to join, let's do it. So that's pretty much what we did. He come aboard, and we started August 1st of 22 was the first day actually in business.
Mm-hmm.
And we started with subcontract work with one of my former employees, and they do boiler work, boiler repairs. I actually held an R and S&U stamp for them. Still do to this day, hold it for them.
Mm-hmm.
So we done that, and then we done side work or sub work with them for right at a year. And my father-in-law had took a job with a company out of South Georgia, and they were getting swamped, didn't have no help. And so he messaged me and he said, "What's your schedule like?" I said, "What do you need it to be like?" He said, "Well, we're covered up and I need help." And I said, "Well, you let me know when you want me to be there and we'll be there." This was in 23, summer of 23. So we started doing that, and we traveled a lot. And that's one thing I told my dad when we started. I said, "Look, we travel a lot. Our typical schedule is we leave for 12 days, and then we go home for 2 days, and then we leave for 12 days again. And it's just a repeating cycle." And I mean, that's how I got into the industry traveling, and that's how we traveled. So I told him
Mm-hmm.
that, and then roughly sometime late September, early October, I got a hint that he was kind of getting tired of being on the road so much. I mean, him
Mm-hmm.
and my stepmom would travel together. And then one day we was on the phone, and he just was straight up honest with me and said had been talking to some friends and whatnot about buyouts. And I told him, I said, "Well, Dad, if you want out," and we said, "I'm not going to value off of what friends say." I said, "We'll have the accountant evaluate the company, see what the company's valued at, and then we can discuss what we're going to do from that point forward." The value for his half was agreed upon at 100 grand, and that was just based upon, from what I understand from the accountant, he based that upon what the company had been doing in revenue, because
Mm-hmm.
pretty much all the tools were mine. I got a tool buying problem, like most of us probably do.
Don't we all?
Outside of what I had owned, we had bought some of the smaller Miller 161, 110, 220 machines that we
Mm-hmm.
would use. But for the most part, everything belonged to me. So the value come from what little bit of tools, and then the majority of it was valued at what the company had done. So like I said, that happened in the buyout. Actually, the agreement was in 23. We done a handwritten buyout and had it notarized, while I had an attorney start working up an actual typed out 2 or 3 page agreement and all this. So the agreement was the 100 grand for 25 months. Yeah, 25 months at
Mm-hmm.
$4,000 a month. So the way the payments were set up when I was doing sub work is we got paid the 15th and the 25th of every month from the company. So whatever invoices was due at that time, they would settle up with. So when them payments would come in, I would send him 2,000, and then I'd send him another 2,000,
Mm-hmm.
and that was good. Wasn't terrible. I mean, $4,000 a month sending it to somebody wasn't the
It's
best thing
tough.
in the world. Um, and I won't lie, I kind of had a hard feeling towards my dad when that
Sure.
happened. Um, and being honest as honest can be, he was supposed to bring in some of his clients when he left from the
Mm.
other company, and it never happened.
Mm.
So I mean, outside of the sub work, any side work that come in was pretty much me. I mean, I think the year he was in business with me, he brought in about $5,000.
Okay. Wow.
So when he wanted 100 grand for his half, it kind of stung a little bit.
Yeah,
But I don't hold it
absolutely.
against him. I mean, he's my dad. I love him at the end of the day, no matter what.
Yeah, yeah. Now, your accountant came up with the valuation of this?
Yes, I had. So I use a firm locally that's very well recognized in my area,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know how else to go about finding somebody.
Sure.
And the value was higher than the agreed upon buyout amount. Which when I talked to my dad about the buyout, just me and him talking, he said that he felt that it was his half was worth more in the 150 range, but he was willing to do 100. And I said, well, I want to have it valued. And that's
Sure.
what my accountant told me when he come back. Is he said if he's willing to do 100, he said that's a good buy.
Now, how
Yes.
many guys did you have working for you at this time?
Honestly, it was me, my dad, and one guy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was three of us, and me and my dad were always in the field, which I mean, I don't mind. I don't care to work. It's just part of it sometimes. But
Yeah.
we were always in the field. And when I bought him out, I hired another guy that I had known from, he worked with another buddy of mine that owned a steel erection company.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I hired him. So then it was me and then two other guys. And then
This
probably,
is after this is
yeah, this is after the buyout. And then probably 2 months later, I hired that guy's son. He was 19 or 20 and needed a job. He had steel erection experience. So we brought him on as well. But
mm-hmm.
we didn't ever do steel erection.
Now, so did your attorney give you a breakdown of how he valued your business?
Yes,
Did
and
he?
I've actually still got that contract at home, and I make sure I keep up with that.
You do?
But yeah,
Okay.
I've got that contract at the house still. Actually,
Is there a way to explain how he broke that down? Because it seems like a 3-person company, like typically, from what my understanding is from business valuation, it's whatever profit that you make out of that business times 5 is the value,
yeah,
generally, is the value of it, plus that's the value of your books, and
yeah,
then plus the tooling that you have involved in the business. But it sounds like most of your tooling was on you. So you guys must
yeah.
have been
Most of the
doing,
tools were mine.
yeah. So you guys, like, did they did they assess a salary to your dad? And then it just seems like, it just seems not high, but it seems like, I don't know. I've never dealt with that, and $100,000 for
I,
being in business for 1 year
yeah,
sounds like a pretty high. It sounds like you guys owned a job, not a business.
yeah, yes, and
To,
that's how I felt about it most of the time.
yeah, it sounds like that, and maybe it might not have been that on paper, but I mean, from my just back of the, in my head math, it sounds like you guys are probably making about $40,000 a year in profit above what you guys paid yourself. Divide that by 2, because there's 2 owners. That's about $20,000 each times 5, which is $100,000. But like, I mean, you guys were only in business for what, a year, right? A year and a half,
Yeah,
maybe.
just over a year when he wanted out.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that was my thing. I figured the value would come in more around the 50,000 range. So when I
Mm,
was told 100, it kind of shocked me.
okay. Interesting. Cause like there's value like that's on paper, and then there's value that you can actually sell for. Like
Yeah,
like I'm sure with any decent sized business, you get all these spams of like, hey, we want to buy your company. We're a private wealth firm. We want to buy your company, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of businesses, even with talking with other people, they're not sellable. Like, because if you leave and your father leaves, they don't have a business. You know what I mean?
yep,
You guys own a job, not a business. It'd be different if you
yeah,
had systems and people in place to do the accounting and the bidding and the work and stuff like that. Anyway, I just wanted to talk through that with you a little bit about how your accountant went about that valuation.
yeah. I'm not really 100% on that. Like I said, I've got the attorneys typed up agreement
Mm-hmm.
for everything, but
Sure. Okay. Now, so your dad he's out of this now. You hired 2 more guys, and you guys are out. Tell me about the work that you guys were getting then.
So we continued with a bunch of subcontract work, doing it, and then probably March, I noticed the sub guys were starting to thin out some of the other people they had in that were subs or temps and stuff like that. So I mean, I straight up asked him. I said, "Hey, what is work looking like?" And he said, "Man," he said, "I'll be honest with you, it's slowing down." He said, "We'll keep you busy as long as we possibly can." I said, "That's fine. I'll start digging out for more work."
Mm-hmm.
I had a buddy at the time that worked for a forklift company out of Chattanooga, and they had a recall on a line of forklift masts that needed to be redone. So at the time, I didn't have a structural cert, and he told me, he said, "We want these done. I'd like for you to do them." I said, "Well, let me just see what it costs to get a structural cert." So I reached out to a guy that probably an hour and a half from the house, uh, talked to him, and he actually does certifications and whatnot. So I think I paid $600 to have a 4G and 3G unlimited cert done. So I done that. And then, so we went and we done the forklift repairs, and this is how I got in with the custom home builder. I think it was the second forklift repair we done was at a lumber yard in this woman's town. We done the work, and I left that guy a business card, and I said, here's my card. If you ever need anything, holler. If you know anybody that needs work, let me know. But more than glad to help. We was on a job in my town working, and I got a phone call. It's a LJ number. I was like, well, we'll see who it is. I answered it. It was that home builder. And she told me that she had built a house and had another steel company come in and do all the erection of the steel. The master bedroom, this house is amazing. It is very beautiful. I will give her that. She built a beautiful house. But the master bedroom was held up by 12 by 12 steel legs.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And she herself had no idea about welding, and she was worried about the weld quality. And I said, well, I can come out there. I don't remember, we planned a day, like a day or two later, to go out and look at it. And I went out there, looked it over, and I told her straight up, I said, look, I said, just based off of what I'm seeing, I said, you're 80% of reweld right off the top. And I said, I've got a buddy that's a CWI. I said, if you want, I can put you on contact with each other. He'll come out and he'll let you know what he thinks. And he pretty much told her the same thing. 80 to 90% of all welds had to be redone.
Wow.
And so that was the first job we got with her. I done a contract. We redone like 168 welds in like 3 or 4 days on this house, grinding them out, re-welding them.
Mm.
And then she paid real good on that one. At the end of that, whatever day it was, 3 or 4 days, at the end of that day, she wrote me a check. I went and done it. Well, she called me. What was it about the next time? She is literally like just a few days later, she reached out to me again. It's about some handrails and some stuff at another house, another property she was building. So we went and looked at it. And then she asked me to go look back at that first house where the re-welds had happened. And I said, yeah, we'll go over there and look at some stuff. It was some stair stringers. The stair stringers, it was 1, 2, 4 single stringers, stair stringers. And she had another company that was going to do them out of Atlanta. But I guess they got busy on a big stainless handrail job somewhere, and they told her they couldn't make it. All the steel was already there, so we just provided the labor.
Mm.
Dunn was going to build on site because that's what she wanted, and I talked her into letting us take all the steel, load the steel up, and haul it back to a shop. And we done it there. And I'm self-taught when it comes to any type of drawing. I use Fusion 360 for any shop drawings that I was doing at the time. So I drew everything up, laid everything out, and had them
Mm-hmm.
building them. They didn't level the treads themselves when they put everything on it. They didn't verify that they were level, and that's where the
This is
extra day and a
this is
half.
the mono stringer that you're talking about.
Yes, yes,
So
that's where the day and a
this
half
company
extra came
made the
in.
mono stringer and installed the steel, but didn't finish up the job.
Yes, they put all the landings in, and they had different stairs in, but she didn't like them because they just used, I think it was just 2x4 rectangular tubing as the stringers, and she wasn't very happy with it and wanted to go with the 6x6 stringer itself. So we done that, and the guys went out and installed them because at this time she had wanted me to start designing new handrails because she had handrails done. She didn't like them. And she asked me, she said, "Can you rebuild them?" I said, "Yes, I can rebuild them." I said, "But," said, it's a lot of handrail. I said, "You're looking at a minimum of 4 weeks worth of fab time." And I said, "That's us working 6, 7 days a week."
Mm-hmm.
And she agreed to it. And that's where I screwed up because I didn't do a contract on it.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that bit me. I guess I looked at it as she had paid me good on everything else. Why would she do me wrong now? So we got the stringers installed and ordered steel for the stairs, or ordered steel for the handrails. And she called me again and she said, "Hey, I need you to come out here. This house is sagging." I was like, "Okay, I'll be on my way." It was rough. So the basement, I guess, quote unquote, the basement, it really wasn't a room, but when you walked in from the driveway, you had your main floor and a huge glass wall with sliding glass doors. And then you had the same thing below it on the next level. So all that weight was putting pressure on the middle of the house. And literally, you could stand in the basement where the beams were. It was just wood beams, and you could see the bow in it.
Wow.
I was like, "Well," I said, "if you'll have an engineer spec what beam size, spec all this," I said, "we can put them in." I said, "It won't take long to do." I think it was five beam sections, maybe 8 foot apiece, I think. So I told the guys, I said, "Look, go out there, get your beams cut," because there were still legs holding it up, but then it was a wood beam on top of that.
Yeah.
So I
Like
told
an
them, I said, "Look,
engineered
go out."
beam. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think they ended up doing a W8 by 24. I don't remember the exact weight of the beam, but it was a W8. So I told them, I said, "Look, just go out, jack the floor up with the beam, and then work your way out, welding it in, and make sure it's straight." Done that. She paid for it, no problem. Everything was good on it. Payment on it was fine. Started doing handrails, and she paid me weekly. She paid really good, like I said at first. If something was done, I sent her an invoice. That Friday or Thursday, I had a check.
Okay.
Well, then she come at me one day and she's like, "Hey, I need to free up a little bit of cash flow until this house gets done. Can I pay you with a credit card?" I was like, "Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fine." We had some big issues with the first credit card payment. I think we tried to run it through Square, and Square blocked it because of the amount. And then tried to run it through another program. I don't remember which one it was, and they blocked it for like a day. And then I told her, I was like, "Look, we got to figure something else out." I said, "I can't." I said, "Square held the money, then it had to get released, and this other place held the money, and then they finally released it to me because Square wouldn't even release it to me. They released it back to her." So that was the only credit card payment. And then she just went back to writing me checks after that. Start of the 4th week on the handrails, we had one rail left to actually fabricate. Everything else was fabricated. Start of the 4th week, that Monday, I was headed back from from Tennessee with my family. We went and ate somewhere in Tennessee that evening, and she calls me, and she's just raising hell, cussing, telling me I'm a piece of crap, just like everybody else. Where's her stuff at? And I said, whoa, wait a minute. Calm down. I said, we've got one rail left to build. She said, well, I've got people coming out from the bank to look at this house to give me another draw. And they want to see handrails and this and that. And I said, well, look, I told you that minimum 4 weeks fab time. I said, we've got the last one ready to go. I said, it's almost built. And she was having them painted herself. She had some painters that painted the whole house, all the steel work on it. So she was having them come to our shop and paint them. I said, they can paint probably Wednesday. And she was not having it. She wanted them installed Tuesday. And this was Monday evening. And I said, that's not going to happen. And she just kept on and on and on and on, dogging at me and telling me how awesome of a person I was. Luckily, I went to a bad service area and the call dropped. What's bad?
I'm sure that's what I would tell her too.
I had it on speaker so my wife could hear everything as well. And my wife, she was just looking at me, shaking her head. And
wow. Now, was there any indication of bad blood before this, or is this just like completely out of the blue?
Well, I had the guy that originally built the handrails was the same contractor that was supposed to redo the stair stringers, but said he had another job come up. He told me that when I met him there one day in person, they were finishing up the last bit of the handrail install when we were repairing welds. And he told me, he said, look, man, he said, be careful. She's kind of sneaky. And I just kind of blew it off because she had said bad stuff about him. He had said bad stuff about her. And I was like, she's been treating me awesome. Yeah. Paying me everything. And I was like, well, maybe he did something wrong. And they had a disagreement. And I didn't listen to him. And I should have.
Okay. So what happened on Tuesday then?
So we continued trying to get the handrails done. We got that last one done. And I called her and told her that they were ready to paint. And she sent painters. And they painted. The shop I was in it wasn't a huge shop. I mean, it was a decent shop. It was 3,200 square feet roughly. But literally the day I moved in, I rented it from a guy. It was on the back side of his heating and air business. I rented it from him. And the day I moved in, we worked till like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning that day trying to get everything done. And then he calls me the next day and tells me that he no longer wants to rent it.
What?
Yeah. Literally a day after we moved all of my equipment, all the weld machines, everything in.
Did you guys have a written contract?
No, I tried to get him. I told him, I said, hey, I need a place to work. I'm using a buddy's shop right now and he needs his shop space. And he said, he said, you move your stuff in. He said, I'll get everything. He said, I'll get power ran over there because he hadn't done nothing with this side of the shop. He had been remodeling the other side, and this side was just left alone. He's like, you get everything moved in, and I'll get all the electrical done, rental agreement, and all this. I said, well, you let me know. I've got the money in my pocket to pay you whenever you need to be paid. You just say when. He's like, oh, no. We'll just wait. And then, bam.
Dang.
I don't know because there was nobody to complain that we was there working late. There was literally a carpet mill right across the street, and the only other houses were quarter of a mile, three-quarters of a mile down the road.
Okay.
So I don't know what went wrong there, but we end up having words again, and I told her, I said, look, I'm done. And we loaded all her handrails up and took them to her office and unloaded them for her, set them there. And she sent me an email the next morning telling me how awesome I was again. And cussing me out, telling me I was no longer allowed on her properties, this, that, and the other. And that's where
Okay.
that one ended. I never replied to that email. And then I got a credit card dispute because how everything we worded everything in person was she'd pay each week on the labor, and then once
Hmm.
everything was built, she would call the local steel supplier I used and settle up the steel bill.
Okay.
Well, I had thought she had paid some of the steel bill already, but she hadn't.
Mm.
So that they reach out to me about the money on it, and I started paying them after I'd closed down. I was paying them out of my pocket to try to make things right and whatnot. But
So you her credit card payments did start going through then, is what you're
yeah,
saying.
the first credit card payment, it eventually went through. We had to
Mm.
try multiple different platforms. Like I said, I think Square denied it because I never used Square for large payments. It was always
Yeah, it was
smaller stuff.
probably a newer account, and yeah,
Yeah,
they flagged that
yeah,
kind of
because
stuff.
everybody else done ACH payments with me, like the
Yeah.
subcontract work I done. All that was just direct ACH directly into the account. Didn't have to deal with nothing else.
Hmm. Okay. And then so that big one was a problem, but then she started paying you with credit card for smaller amounts.
She paid me with check after that. We only
She
done the
cha-
one credit card transaction, and neither one of us was happy with the trouble we
Gotcha.
went through to try to make that go through. So we both decided just to do checks. That's why
Gotcha.
she only had the one dispute.
Hmm. Gotcha. Okay. But so she disputed. You guys did do one credit card payment, and she
Yes.
disputed that one.
Yes. And her reasoning was it wasn't the design she was after, something else. Well, I had text messages where I sent her pictures of the 3D model design that I had done and all
Hmm.
this, and she was like, "Oh my god, it's perfect. That's what I want." But Square didn't care.
Wow. Okay. And then so with the steel, you had a line of like you had net terms with your steel
Yes,
company.
I had net 30 terms with the steel company.
And then so you ordered the steel under your name, and she said that she would just
Yeah,
pay
she
it
said
off
once
after it was.
everything was done, she would pay it.
Mm, dang. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, live and
So
learn.
and then you dropped you dropped the railings off to her
Yes, so
in hopes that like
got
so go ahead.
she got her railings and what she had paid for. She We didn't install them, so she didn't get billed install, of
Okay.
course. Um, we had a set amount. I think I was doing the rails at $150 a linear foot, and
Hmm.
it worked out to where I would bill at the end of each week a certain amount, and then
A
once the
fee that you
install
got
was
done, yeah.
done, we was going to bill the remainder of the install labor. But the
Mm.
install never got done, so
Wow. Okay. So did she dispute the labor that she paid for you to build them, or did you actually get paid
yes,
for that labor?
she disputed the $127,000, which and what's bad is that credit card dispute. So the way I would invoice her is like that week we done the beam reinforcement I told you about. I had a
Hmm.
couple guys because before we shut down, I ended up having 4 full-time guys and then 2 high school kids that worked with me during the summer, part-time, to try to get some experience, earn some cash. So I had a crew working on handrails, three guys working on handrails, and I had 3 guys that went out and done the beams. So I had 2 different billings. And the way I done it is when I created the invoice is I broke it down. Hey, this many hours, such and such on this. This is what this amount is. This many hours on this. This is what that amount is. And then we had some material cost in there. Because I paid for the beams.
Hmm.
And then, so she paid that with the credit card, which 2 different jobs, $27,000 combined for that week. And then when she disputed it, it was a dispute against everything, not just the handrails. So the beams
Got
had
it.
done been installed, so I lost that money as well.
Okay, so she paid you for all that, like the beam, the reinforcement, everything like that, on credit card, and then she would just square up with you like each week by check for the handrail, and then
Yes.
after that all went down, you delivered the handrail. She went back and disputed all the work that you did previous to that, and you
Yes.
got screwed for that, and the 21,000.
Yes, and it led me into personal bankruptcy. I had to file Chapter 13 bankruptcy a year ago.
Wow.
I got
So that was.
lucky when it come to a job because one of the companies I subbed for, I just reached out to them and I told them, I said, look, I'm not going to be able to do any more sub work. Once I decided to close down, and they was like, do you want a job? So, well, what's your offer? And they made me an offer and I accepted it.
Wow, that's a heck of an adventure.
Yeah,
if you want to
it
call
was
it
a
that.
rough one because we were actually on vacation when she disputed that charge. My wife's mom and dad, my in-laws, they take us to the lake every year, and they were in a cabin, and we were actually at the cabin when I got the dispute charge.
Okay, so whatever came about that, like there really is no there is no disputing it because you didn't have anything in writing, right?
No, and so I sent everything I absolutely could, every screenshot, every text message I could to Square to try to show them, hey, look, this is the design she wanted. This is what she said she wanted. But they didn't. I say they didn't. They called me. So the dispute happened beginning of August, and they said it could take up to 45 days. And I was like, okay, well, there's nothing I can do for the next 45 days. So y'all just let me know when a decision is made. They called me one day. I had just left my wife's aunt's house, and I answered the phone. They told me who it was, and they said, we're calling about a dispute. And I said, well, what was the verdict? And they was like, you lost. How do you want to pay this back? I said, well, what kind of payments can we do? They wanted me to do like $4,000 a month at first. And I mean, I was working a regular job. I said, there's no way. I said, I don't have that kind of money just sitting around. And then they was like, well, can you do $2,000 a month? I said, no. I said, I got a wife and 4 kids I got to provide for. I said, that's going to be hard. And they was like, okay, well, we'll call you back. And to this day, I've not heard back from them.
Wow, have you paid them anything?
They took money out of my business account that I had at the bank. And then I had tool money that I had where I had sold all the tools I could to get all the money up when I knew the business was going down. I started selling stuff, and actually the company I work for bought a huge majority of my stuff. So I used it to finish paying the guys what I owed them, to pay any debt that I had, which I don't, outside of the steel bill, I didn't owe anyone else. And then that got the account back to where it needed to be. So I sold the tools in turn to pretty much cover that where Square had took the money out of my account.
So Square actually took the money.
Yes.
They reached in and pulled it back. Okay.
Yep.
That sounds pretty normal for a chargeback. Is that
Yeah.
How far after so like when the dispute was made to the point where they took the money out of your account, how many days or weeks was that?
They took it the next morning.
The next morning after the
Yes.
dispute was made.
I called them and asked them why, and they said we take that money out to make sure it's there, and then we hold it until the dispute is over to see who won.
Wow.
She
Okay.
said, so if you win, you'll get your money back.
Did you contact any attorneys about this?
Yeah. I contacted the one that done the agreement with me. I don't know if he didn't want to just handle it or what, but not having a contract, it pushed a lot of people away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That gets really muddy and very complicated.
Yes.
And then it's over the, like, was it the $12,000 threshold for small claims court where you just go represent yourself? Yeah. Dang. Cody, brother, that's rough. Holy cow.
Yeah, it put me in a very, very bad spot emotionally.
Okay. Yeah. So
when I decided to
this?
close the company, this
is like July, August.
So this happened. I started my new job August 12th of 24. So it would have been July-ish when everything happened.
Mm.
And so beginning of July 4th, we had an incident at the house where my little girl got hit with a firework in the face, and it exploded on her. And we had to, we rushed her to the ER, and then they took her by ambulance down to Atlanta to a burn center and put her in surgery that night. And I was supposed to be at that woman's house the next day. And this is what I say. She was great up until she wanted her stuff that day. Because I texted her and I said, hey, look, I'm not going to be able to, I had to meet her that day for something. I said, I'm not going to be able to meet you today. This is what happened. And she said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. If there's anything I can do, you just let me know. I said, awesome. I appreciate you. As soon as I get home and get some rest, I will let you know and I will come meet. So back to I never seen it coming. It was just out of left field when she called me and started just going off.
Gotcha. Okay.
So she was the sweetest person ever up until then.
Yeah. So how long you been working for this company now?
Almost a year and 6 months.
Okay. Gotcha. But you still want to go out and do your own thing again.
Absolutely. Think about it every day. Even with all the bad and how dark of a spot I got in mentally and all that, I think about it every day.
Why do you want to do it?
It's just something I've always dreamed of. My dad had a cabinet shop when I was a kid. When I was in middle or elementary school, he owned a cabinet shop for a few years. And then he got put out of business because of bad checks from a salesman of his.
Okay.
And I don't know why, but it's always been something I wanted to do.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's kind of the way that your family's been. You sound like the kind of guy who you're just built to work for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My great grandfather, he worked for himself doing dozer work and dynamite work. And that's what I did. I helped him when I was 15. We'd go up in the mountains and drill rock to blow up dynamite for him.
What better job for a 15-year-old?
It was awesome.
Lay in the dirt and blow stuff up, man. That's amazing.
It's some rough work drilling for dynamite, especially in rock in the mountains.
Sure.
Because I mean, you got to go. We went down 6 foot overall depth. So you start with a 2 foot bit, you drill down 2 foot, then you jump to a 4 foot, then you jump to a 6 foot. And you're spending days. I think the last one we done was like 70 something holes. And then you get to watch 5 seconds of fun when it explodes.
Then you got to clean it all up.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's a lot of people have, and my uncle, to this day, my uncle's owned a roofing company, and I helped him too when I was a teenager, roof.
Yeah.
He's owned a roofing company for 15, 20 years now.
How old are your kids?
I got a boy. My oldest is 12. He's a boy. I've got a boy that's going to be 9 in May. And then I got twin girls that'll be 6 in March.
Okay. if you were to do this all over again, what is your okay? So before we go there, how old are you now?
I'm 33.
Okay. What do you want to what do you want out of this? What do you want in life and what do you want out of this business? So what do you like what is your long-term like when you're 45, 50, 60, what sort of business or work do you want to be doing? And what do you want out of life at that point?
Business wise, I do enjoy the handrails. It's challenging and it's fun. I
Mm-hmm.
do enjoy the structural side of things as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the path I want to take, is more of the structural and the handrail stuff.
Okay.
Because I've done the millwright work, I've done the buller work, and it pays good, but I don't like it. And honestly, what I want out of it is I want a little bit more freedom.
Okay.
Not necessarily, I don't guess necessarily time off. I don't mind working. My boys even went with me and helped work on some stuff when it come to them handrails, sweep the shop. I'd like to be able to do stuff like that, because that's what I grew up doing. I grew up helping dad, helping, like I said, my great grandfather. I enjoyed that, being able to take them along on jobs that allow it. That is,
Mm-hmm.
I know there's times when it ain't the right time to have them out there, but I would.
You say I think freedom for you means not necessarily time off, but freedom to work on your own on your own schedule. Is it like am
Absolutely,
I in
yes.
that ballpark? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. That's
Okay.
the end goal. Is I want to be able to, if they have something going on at school, I don't want to have to miss that stuff, and I miss a lot of that now.
Sure.
Because I mean, like I said, we travel a lot.
Yeah. How was how was tell me about your experience with having guys work for you.
I've had good and bad.
Okay.
One of the main guys that worked for me was actually a former. We worked together for a former employee or employer, and then he ended up getting fired. And then when I started my company, he was working locally, and I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, do you want a job? Do you want to travel?" And he was all for it. So he was a good one. He liked to drink.
Mm-hmm.
He liked to drink a lot, but he was probably one of the best workers that I've had and that I've been around. He was a very good worker. I had a young boy that I was on it. Me and my dad. We hired one guy very shortly, maybe a couple weeks. I had to fire him because he just up and left the job site one day, and I called
Mm-hmm.
him and I said, "What's going on?" He said, "I thought I could go home because somebody else left." And I said, "Well, we don't work with that person. They don't even work with us." And I had multiple complaints up to that point out of him. So I was like, "Man," I said, "Look, we're just gonna cut ties, buddy. No hard feelings."
Yeah.
Uh, and then I had a couple guys that they were good workers,
Mm-hmm.
but they did some things. One of them messed up some stuff in a hotel room, because I always used to book the hotel rooms, and I would always figure that into the jobs and whatnot. But one of them messed some stuff up in the hotel room, so I had to pay for it, and he voluntarily
Yeah.
paid me back. Uh, for the most part, it was good. Um,
Did you enjoy working and having guys under you, or was it more of a
oh yeah,
frustration?
no, I enjoyed it. I got frustrated with the high school kids a couple of times that worked for me.
Of course. Of course. They're high school kids.
We were at a
That's
gas
kind of built
station.
in.
Yeah, we were at a gas station getting fuel one day, and they rolled down the window and just started hollering and screaming out of the truck. I mean, the truck's got logos on it. And so I jerk open the back door and I said, that's enough of that. I said, y'all got to understand. I said, I know y'all are young. I said, but you got to understand right now you are representing this company.
Yeah.
And if you're out here acting like a fool, people will remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed helping them learn.
Yeah.
And everybody try to grow together.
So what are some of the, so it sounds like you enjoy working with other people, you're a social guy, obviously it helps to have extra hands. What are some of the things that hold you back from going out and doing this again?
Honestly, the fear of failing again. I feel like
Okay.
I failed. I've had people tell me it wasn't my fault, but in my eyes, it was because I didn't do things like I should have. I should have had more contracts in place when it come to work. I should have done this differently, that differently, and now I see that. Like I said, it put me in a very dark place emotionally when I closed that company down. I literally slept. I laid in the bed for a week, and I didn't
Yeah.
want to get up. I mean, it was one of the hardest things I've done.
Well, I feel like we put so much into our businesses that it's really hard to not tie our personal identity into into our business, and therefore our business is we use our business as a reflection of our identity and worth. Because I know I've fallen into that a lot.
Yeah.
Like for like years and years and years, like probably almost a decade. Probably a decade maybe.
Yeah.
How my business was doing reflected in my I would say self-worth. I would say my not like, because it's always going to reflect in your emotions, but I let it affect to an extent my self-worth. And I didn't realize that until probably a couple years ago when I was, I think my wife brought it to light. And, like I should not let my business control my emotions like it did. I needed to, when I got a business coach, shout out to Josh from the Tradesman Experience. There is I started diving into stuff, and Jocko Willink we went to, it was me, my wife, and we took our foreman to go see him live. And, we did it as a team building thing. It was fun. And, we went with notepads and everything like that. And they're all writing stuff down. And I'm like, I'm not getting anything out of this yet. And I wrote one thing down from that entire session. And it was disconnect is a superpower. Being able to disconnect from your business is a superpower. Being able to disconnect from other decisions you have to make, like your emotions tie you, like they're like, that's the way God made us, is to be emotional creatures. Okay. So being able to take that emotion out of decisions that should not have emotion is a superpower. So in order for me to not feel like Kevin Johnson is tied to how the business goes, it still does. I'm pretty good at it now, but it took a couple years to get to that point where I can see that, like, and to be quite honest with you, I think that's why I had a lot of problems in my business, is because when I'm a fixer. We are fixers. Like that's literally what a business owner is. Somebody brings you their problem and you fix it. And we just so happens we fix it with welding and metal. You know what I mean? So with being a fixer, I just held on tighter to everything. And I tried to control everything more. And I feel like the more I tried to control things, the more it like spun out of control. like truly, it really did. And like, this is just a personal, whatever. And not to get, I don't know, like not to get real religious or anything like that, but I'm a Christian and I believe God is in charge of everything. And I'm telling you, my
Absolutely.
business turned around when I decided that I'm like, God, you know what? You're going to have to do this. I don't got this. I did this for 10 years. And I screwed it all up. And it got to the point it was so bad. I just threw my hands up. I was like, you know what? Like, God, you got this. Like, you're going to have to figure this out. And man, I went through some crap. Like, I went through some crap with him letting me try to figure out, or with him figuring out how to make this business work. And I'm telling you, on the other side of it, like right now, I've never been so happy with my business now, because I let God just kind of, like, it's not my business, it's his. And I know that sounds kind of like super religious and spiritual and whatever, but like, it's true. And like, I can get into a lot more situations. Like, I got some stories, man. I got some stories on that. But so I understand it's, for you, it's hard to not see, it's hard to not tie yourself to how well the business happens. But I think if you decide to go back and do this, which I think you will, I think people like us who are just built this way to have to be in control of our own income and our own lives and our own time and the freedom that gives. I think if we take and stay at jobs, it crushes our soul.
Oh yeah.
There have been times where, a couple times I've considered just shutting it down and hanging it up. A few times, like quite a few times. And but every time I think about it for more than like 15 minutes or maybe 30 minutes, I'm like, I would be miserable. I'm a terrible employee. I am. I really am.
I'll go ahead and tell you, it is miserable.
Yeah, I bet. and so you getting kicked down, a year and a half ago, so bad, and now I bet you kind of feel like you're in a prison. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I hate it.
Yeah. So, so you're afraid of failure again. What do you think? So give me some of the lessons you learned out of that. So briefly, I'm sure there's a million lessons that you've learned out of this.
Oh yeah.
But if you were to do this again, which it sounds like you're probably going to, what are you going to do different this time?
So if I could go back, no partners. I was warned against a business partner to begin with. And I was definitely warned against working with family, but I didn't listen.
So pause real quick. What happened with paying your dad back? Are you still paying your dad back?
No. I actually called him in tears when I was deciding to close it down. And I told him, I said, Dad, I can't do it no more. I said, I'm over it. I said, I want out. And he said, son, he said, if that's what you want to do, then that's what you do. And he said, if you decide you don't want to do it no more, he said, you don't owe me nothing. He said, I care more about you and our relationship than I do money.
Wow. What a relief.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was. Because that was another thing I worried about is I told my wife, if I close this and I go get a job, I won't never be able to make that payment. And he just straight up told me, he said, look, I'm not worried about it.
Has that helped your relationship with your dad? Like, what's your relationship like now versus when you were paying him?
It's good. Which, I mean, I tried to keep it as good as I could when all the payments, and I wouldn't hold anything against him then, no matter how I felt or not, because he's got grandkids and my grandkids or his grandkids want to see him and all that. I think we've gotten closer since then. Since everything stopped, because I'll reach out to him all the time and ask him questions about how he felt when he had to close his cabinet shop and what he would do differently if he could go back. And if he had the chance to go back, if he would, and if he could start it today, if he would. So I try to keep a good relationship with him because at the end of the day, he's my dad. He's the only one I got.
Awesome. Sorry to get that sidetrack. I that just
Oh,
popped
you're
in my
good,
head.
brother.
Lessons you would learn other than partnership and working with family.
So another one is not every customer is a good customer, and not every customer is your customer. And I also heard a saying, I don't remember when it was. It might have been on your podcast. I don't remember where I heard it, but not everybody can afford what they want.
Yep.
I looked at some handrails for a lady on the side, and it was 25-foot worth of handrail, and then a big custom CNC cutout insert that she wanted into an open space, and outdoor handrails with palm tree cutouts and all this. And I mean, I gave her a price, and she's like, "Oh, that's too much." I said, "Well, what's your budget?" She's like, $2,000. I said, "I'm not your guy. I'm sorry." I said, "There's no way." And another thing is, it don't take flashy equipment, flashy trucks to make money.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that hurt me is I went out and bought I mean, it wasn't new. It was a 2019 F350. Had 37,000 miles on it. I started the company with a '06 F350, and had to put injectors in it, which cost several $1,000s, and then had more issues, and it was going to be like $9,000 to fix it. And I thought, man alive. So instead of doing that, which I should have fixed it, I went and took the $8,000 and paid down on a truck. And so that put a big payment on top of everything. And then I let a buddy of mine talk me into some nice flashy wheels. I put it on 24-inch Alcoas on 37s, and yeah, I mean, it was nice. It was a good looking truck. But looking back, that '06 model would have made the same money.
Yeah.
And
Do you still have that truck?
I could have paid no. That was one thing I didn't include in the bankruptcy. I have a really, really good friend of mine that wanted to take over payments on that truck, and he has paid every payment since then on time.
Okay.
And I told him, I said, "Look, if you get to where you can't pay it, you let me know." I said, "No hard feelings, and I'll throw it in the bankruptcy."
Gotcha.
And then another big one I learned is got to make sure you got money to operate on. Just because it's there don't mean it's there. And I learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
I'd see that money there, and I'd be like, "Well, look, I can do this and this," and then the next week or the week and a half later, I'm like, "Oh crap, I forgot about this bill or this payment that's coming out for insurance this week." And
Yep.
I learned a lot of hard lessons.
Yeah, I'd say so. Do you have any, so you said you sold all your tools. Do you have any tools left that you could restart your business?
I've got a couple. I've got two, and maybe this will help me out because I got a buddy that told me if I could get one of these welding machines running, I could use it and then just buy it from him. It's a Vantage 400. It's a big machine, Lincoln Vantage 400. No, it's either a Vantage or a Commander. It's an old machine. It's like a '70s model, '80s model machine. I don't remember exactly, but I took it home, put fresh diesel in it, primed the fuel system, crunk it. It ran for 20 seconds, shut off, and now it won't start back.
Okay.
And he had to have the alternator rebuilt one time when it done that to him, and he seems to think that's what it might be again. So I mean, I've got that machine. It just got to get it running. And I have done a lot of side work with a Harbor Freight 9,500 watt generator and a small stick welder, Miller stick welder. I've done a bunch of side work with that. I've
Those you still have.
Yes, I mean I've still got grinders, drills,
Sure.
all that stuff. I got cutting torches and whatnot. I sold what needed to sell to get
Yeah.
by.
Do you have a space to work out of at your house?
At the house, I've just got a one car garage. I do have a buddy that literally 3 minutes down the road has a landscaping company, and he's got a pretty big shop, and all he uses it for is just storage. So we've used it to do some work here and there on
Mhm.
stuff. So anything I can't do in my garage, he lets me come over and do it in his, and we work out any quote unquote rent on any some equipment repairs or stuff like that that he needs.
Okay. How big is his space?
It I'd
That
say it's
how big is his
probably
sp- how big is his space that you are able to use? Put it that way.
probably 3,500 square feet.
What is your schedule for your work currently?
Right now, it's bouncing around because we're slow. Um, we're doing 8 days on, 6 days off, and that gets us 40 hours a week. But it's out of town work.
Mm.
So them 6 days which we just had our first rotation of six off, and typically we went through the same stuff last year. And typically, I'll reach out to anybody I know, friends, other business owners that do landscape and whatnot, just say, hey, if you've got anything you need done, you let me know. Or I've got a buddy that owns a performance shop. I'll go over there and weld on cars for him on the side when he needs it. And
Gotcha. Okay. How far out of town are you?
right now, I'm 5 hours from home.
Okay. um, is your wife at home full time or does she have a job?
She's at home full time. She cleans houses for herself on the side. She's
Mhm.
got 2 weekly houses that she cleans, and then she's got a monthly house right now that she cleans.
I feel like staying at home is harder than going in and to getting a job for
Yeah,
for
you ain't
for
kidding,
most
especially for
housewives.
kids.
Yeah, exactly. 4 of them?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
texted me right before I got to the hotel room to talk to you, and she's like, "I dread taking them in Walmart." I was like, "I'm sorry."
So, is this out of town work how your schedule is going to be, or is this just like a fluke thing that comes around, or is it seasonal, or
It's been like this for the better part of last year and this year. We had
okay?
a couple good weeks and good months last year.
Mm-hmm.
We usually have a busy season at the end of the year when we do shutdown work, when everybody shuts down for Christmas or Thanksgiving, because we do a lot of carpet mill work and carpet mill plants. So, but for the past better part of a year, it's been hit or miss a
Yeah.
lot.
Okay. Timing wise for you, when would be ideal to restart your business?
I honestly want to do it this year.
Yeah, this year. Okay. Do you what is your do you still have your EIN and stuff like that from previously?
No,
Well,
I do.
that's in bankruptcy anyway, so that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I've done got another name picked out and everything already.
Did you file for an EIN and stuff like that with that yet?
Yeah, I reached out to another accountant yesterday, a
Mm-hmm.
buddy of mine, told him to push it through and get everything filed for me.
Okay. Cool. Um. Well, it sounds like you're gonna do it, man. Like I feel like you just went through a lot of learning lessons in a short amount of time.
Yeah,
You got kicked in the face a couple times, and those kicks really hurt, man. So I feel for you on that. But you know, I So the good part is, and the bad part is that they were all your fault. And I
Yeah.
say that as in, you're the one who can fix that next time. Like, and you've learned from it. Your business didn't go down for anything other than your lack of knowledge of that you need to get contracts and a couple other things that there might have been some red flags, but have to go through those. And I think we've all been through those red flags. It's just yours got tied to big amounts of money and put you under.
Yeah.
And I'm of the school of thought of like extreme ownership, like own like you, if you can own the fact that you screwed up the first time and you will never be put in that position again. Like, only thing I see is the business partnership that definitely you should do this on your own.
Absolutely.
And I think you've learned all the other lessons. Credit cards or payments are okay in small amounts, and if you take them, you need to have not an airtight, but you definitely need to have a very clear writing, some sort of basic contract. And like, in the age of AI, you can just tell AI what you're doing and then say, hey, write me a basic contract for this state, make it legally binding, blah, 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 and just have them sign it. And if they won't sign it, then you
Yeah.
don't do the work. You know what I mean? Like, and it just has to be something stating your work, like the scope of work that you have to do, the price, and the payment terms. And maybe a couple other things, but like maybe there has to be some. I do know that there is specific language for each state in order to make things binding.
Yeah.
But Chat GPT or Grok or whatever, they know that language and they can do it. Or you can just actually just have a lawyer draft you up one that it can be just a blanket for everybody. You know what I mean? For a couple $100, like, if that makes you feel better. It sounds like you've got a place that you can do work. I would advise against. I would come up with a more structured payment structure with this landscaping guy. That actually sounds like a situation that I got into when I first started out. Well, I was doing side work, and then my boss came to me and he's like, hey, the writing's on the wall. Like, we're getting slow. I need to figure out something to do with you because you do the least in the company. Like, I was a mechanic and a fabricator. He's like, you're the least important to this company and you make more than everybody else. He's like, something has to happen. And I'm like, I saw this coming. Totally. I said, rent me your shop until I get my shop built. Cause at that time I had just taken a loan out to build a pole barn on my property. And long story, like, when I went out on my own, I raised my prices, and it was one of those things like, yeah, we'll work it out. Like, you do things for me and we'll work out rent and this and that. And it was super informal. We never wrote anything. And in the end, he felt like I took advantage of him, which I don't feel I did, because I charged fairly for everything that I did.
Yeah.
And whatever, he had a reputation, and he has a reputation in our area, and he always treated me good until, it went kind of south there because of the lack of communication. It's communication and expectations. That's where it went bad. So it sounds like you have a pretty sweet shop to work in that's 5 minutes away from home, which is, for a self-employed guy, that is ideal. I would work out a more structured, whether it's something that you rent because you're starting out as a side thing.
Yeah.
Whether you pay a day rent or if you just straight up just rent it by the month, and then you agree on an hourly rate. That I wouldn't discount your hourly rate towards him. If you want to, you can, but if you, I don't know. I feel like discounting your hourly rate is a bad position to put yourself in any circumstance, because then everybody's gonna, like, they're always gonna want that rate. So like, if you go and you rent somewhere else, or you build a shop on your property, and you're, let's just say that your normal rate's 85 and you're giving, and you're charging him 45 or 65. Like, there's always going to be that, like, well, now I'm out of here, you need to pay $85 an hour. And he's going to feel like, oh,
Yeah.
I helped him out. He's reason, just look, whatever that looks like for you guys, I would just make sure it's very clear and written out on paper. And I would just, it's tough because you're out of town and you said you're 6 on and 8 off. Is that what you said?
8 on, 6 off.
8 on, 6 off. That time back at home is really precious, man. That's really tough. It's just going to have to be a night hustle thing. If you've, like, I don't know if you have the ability to go do work there at night, that could be a thing. And then that way you can work at night, be with the kids during the day, and still be able to grow your side hustle from there until the point where you start to build up your client base. I would absolutely start building up your client base now. Just putting the word out there. Just be like, hey, I'm doing side work. Do you still have a truck that you could work out of?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So whether if you've got that 9 or 10,000 watt generator, look, man, one thing that it doesn't irk me, but I see a lot of guys out there who are like, oh, I'm going to go buy this Bobcat welder, 3 or Trailblazer 325 for $10,000. And I do handrails and stuff like that. And, I'm still working a full-time job, but, like, listen, there has been such a growth in technology in the welding industry in the last 10 years that, like, 10 years ago, yeah, I would say go out and buy that Bobcat, because that's what you need. With transformer welders going out and inverters coming in, like, almost everything's an inverter welder now, which means you can easily run it off of a generator. I would not advise somebody to go spend $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 on a Bobcat or a Lincoln, whatever, 260 MPX or whatever. I would say go buy a Honda generator, used Honda generator, or even a Predator, at Harbor Freight, $1,500, whatever, 10,000 watt. I'm just guessing a price. I don't know, $1,500. Go buy a good multi-process welder. I know, red, blue, green, whatever. I know that there's I hear a lot of good stuff about the real cheap ones, but you also get what you pay for. So there's that. Consumables and some things like that. You can't run to Home Depot on a Saturday or Sunday and get consumables for your yes weld. Very doubtful. So there's something to be said about buying something like a red or a blue machine that you can actually get parts for. More so the ones that they sell at Home Depot, like Tractor Supply. They sell Hobart, which is basically Miller, and you can get consumables at Tractor Supply for there. But I find that Tractor Supply doesn't restock very, very quickly, and they're out of a lot of stuff for a long time. So I would say, I'm kind of biased towards Lincoln just because I have a relationship with them. And I'm not saying this because of that. I'm saying because you can go to Home Depot and Lowe's and buy tips and wire, more so tips. Obviously, wire is interchangeable, but you can buy tips. You can buy anything that goes wrong at Home Depot or Lowe's. If you crush it on a job site, guess what? I'm sure most places you have a Lowe's or Home Depot within, 15, 20, 30 minutes of you, depending where you're at. And you can go buy consumables specifically for that machine. So when you're first starting out, that matters because you don't want to spend $2,000 on just buying a whole bunch of consumables for when you need it. So I would buy something like a WeldPack 180, something that's reliable, that, it has a good track record. It does. It sounds like you've got all the hand tools that you need, and just start hustling on the side, man. I'm sure you've still got insurance contacts at places that you can get some cheap insurance, but that hustle of being gone for 8 days and then back for 6, that's going to really impede what you do. I think one of the things that I learned about too late was subcontracting things out. After trying to do everything in-house, I realized that I don't want to do everything in-house. So painting and powder coating, bro, don't even worry about doing that. Like, just find a good painter in the area. And if the company, if somebody wants it painted more so than what you can do, just have them paint it. Find a good, reliable powder coater. Send it to the powder coater. Don't try to do powder coating in-house. In the world of tools nowadays, plasma is old hat. It really is.
Yeah.
But laser is very expensive and you need a lot of power to do it. But it's one of those things, like, if you're still hustling on the side, and even small, like I'm telling you this as if I were to do it all over again. It looks like you, like, just looking at your Instagram, it looks like you've got experience with Fusion 360. What you can do is outsource a lot of the stuff that you can't buy. So in the world of railings and things like that and stairs, what we started doing is we would start building everything, like all the stairs and all the railings, in CAD. We were using Fusion 360, not the greatest program to get shop drawings from, but good enough to get an understanding of what has to be done. You while you're working, so here's the workflow that I see working for you. You schedule some jobs that are coming up. You go take site measurements while you're at your normal job. Are you guys doing 10 hours a day or?
Yeah, typically it's 10-hour days.
10-hour days, but you got nothing to do after that. Come home, you shower, you eat. Look, you make shop drawings. Get a computer that you can bring with you. Get two monitors, like I have a laptop that I don't know how I ever worked without 2 monitors. Seriously, no, I feel like a Neanderthal.
Laptop, but
yeah, I feel like a Neanderthal.
The 2 monitor sounds interesting.
With 1 monitor, go get yourself another monitor. I would do your shop drawings while you're away and make them in a form that, I mean, I think it also depends on the size of your job. You know what I mean? I think doing pipe rail and things like that, there's something to be said for just doing stuff in the shop. Things like cable rail, if you want to make your own posts, because I realize that there's a lot of good systems out there that are already engineered, like highly considered, not even making anything for our cable rails anymore, and just offering, this is the system that we use, buying it directly from them, and then we install it. Because I really crunched the numbers. By the time that we cut material and we were plasma cutting holes for stringers and things like, or for stainless cables. So by the time we cut the material, put it on an angle, if it's a stair rail, you got to cut it on an angle. You got to make sure it's perfect. You got to weld the base plates on. You got to send it to powder coating. You got to pick it up from powder coating. It's literally the exact same price, and sometimes cheaper, just to buy those posts pre-made from someplace like erigging.com. They have the Haas system, is really nice.
Yeah.
Cable Bullet is another one. One of the things that really inhibits buying things like that is the top rail. The top rail is they only ship in 12-foot sections. And they have connectors that you can put together, and maybe that works for you if you don't have a place that you can bandsaw something like that. What we looked into start doing was just finding the powder coating number, the REL number that they use, and then providing our own top rail. So we would just match the exact same profile. We would just buy it from our supplier because we can get 20 feet long, and then just send it out to powder coating. So that would be the only, and then still use their end caps and things like that.
Yeah.
So things like that, you don't have to do it all yourself. You can outsource, especially if you have CAD drawings and, let's say you have a long ADA rail, or you have some horizontal line rail with like 1/2-inch round bar, 1/2-inch square bar.
Yeah.
You can draw it up, take your post, and instead of sitting there with a drill press on your days off, drilling holes in these square tubes, you make it into a DXF file that you can send out to a place that has a tubing profiler, where you can just buy, the tubes already cut with the square holes in them then that you designed, and they're shipped to you. Are you going to make as much money versus you standing there to drill press? Maybe, maybe not, but you don't have the time to stand at a drill press. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I would rather make the same amount of money and save 2 days of labor by having somebody else do it. You know what I mean? Especially if it comes down to the time that you're robbing from your kids. So
Yeah.
with that, I would really try to outsource as much as you can. One thing that really helped me a lot was subcontractors. So finding other guys in the area who are similar, who are doing it full time. Let's just put that out there, who are in the kind of the same boat. It's them, maybe one guy or two guys, and then saying, "Hey, I'm out of town for 8 days at a time. What do you think about working together? I have these customers that I service well, and sometimes they need things in a pinch. Can I send them to you? Maybe think of a way to, come up with an agreed upon price. Maybe some jobs you just send to them. Like right now, there's a lot of, we don't really take on any new customers. Any new customer that comes through, I'm like, hey, go see this guy. To be quite honest with you, I don't even ask for a commission. I just want them to know that I'm helping them out.
Yeah.
I like them. I want to help support their family. Maybe some of the work that that is going to be a struggle for you to do while you're away, you just say, hey, I'm going to throw it to you, put 5 or 10% on top of it for me as a thank you. And I appreciate that. Or even literally just help them out, because, just throw them the work, because then when you're like, hey, I need 2 guys for this job, he's going to be like, you know what? I got you. And figure out an agreed upon rate and work from there. So I would say, do what you're good at. Do what only you can do. It seems like you're good at Fusion 360. I would say with your limited time, I would outsource a lot of your bookkeeping, because they're like, you don't have time for that. You don't want to do that. Nobody wants to do that. I like doing some mobile work that's close to home, reaching out to some old customers and saying, hey, I'm back into doing this again. I do have a limited schedule, but I have flexibility with working with other companies that, if you'd like us to price out anything for you to do, I'd love to work with you again, and just prioritize things that have a flexible schedule. Right now, like, we have a couple customers who are like, this is our deadline, we need to have this done, and they take priority. But then we have some really other awesome customers who are like, yeah, like this one hospital who's local to us, like, we are their welder, and they're like, yeah, when you get to it. I'm like, look, you're gonna wait about 3 months. I said, we've got some big projects coming up. Yeah, no problem. Just, here's a purchase order when you get to it, So we've got, I don't know, 30 grand worth of work sitting on the books that we have to do and it's just like, when you get to it work. And I'll throw them a bone every once in a while. We'll spend a couple hours on this just so we can show them that we're actually, for these little jobs, we're getting it done. But maybe see who in your town or your city could be flexible like that, and start pursuing those guys. You know what I mean? And then just don't be afraid. If they're like, the only work we have is emergency work, be like, hey, I can't help you with that, but I have another guy in town who can, and just refer the work to them. You know what I mean? But I think you've got it. I think you can do it. I know you can do it because you've done it before. Like, I do understand. I do understand the fear of getting back into it, to put you and your family in that spot again. Obviously, I think you've learned a lot from what you've done before. And, you learn to not extend yourself out. I would probably never, ever take another credit card payment if I were you ever again.
You ain't kidding.
Boy, that's a hard freaking lesson, man.
Yeah.
Get progress payments for material and things like that. I think I think one of the things that might hurt you is you might go into things a little bit too guarded and like think that everybody's out to screw you, when I think that's really the exception to the rule, then that most people aren't out there trying to screw you. There are definitely opportunists. It's funny because I was actually I forget what I was doing, but I was going back, and every time that I had like a hunch, I'm like, I don't know if I like this guy or not. And I did work. Guess what? I had problems. Like
Yeah.
every time. So like trust your instinct on that. I think it's the system of trust but verify. Trust them that they're going to pay and you're going to do, and it's going to work out great. But verify with a contract and that they have to sign, because that's what the entire world is built on. It's built on trust but verify. Like they trust you that you're going to do it, but guess what? They're going to make you sign a contract.
Absolutely.
That's all of construction. That is all of general contracting. That is everything. Yeah, I feel like I'm just rambling on here, but I feel strongly about about a lot of this, man. I feel bad that you had to go through that, but also I'm happy to hear that you're optimistic about doing this again. And because I've seen guys who started their own business and they just become miserable about the fact that it didn't work out. And you know, more so the older generation, like, oh, back in my day, but you know, like somebody screwed me over on this and it put me under, as it, you know, and they blame that other person or that other business for them not ever
Yeah.
getting back on the horse and doing it again. That doesn't sound like it's you. So I'm pretty optimistic that you can get back on the horse with the lessons that you've learned, and you can make this work in a manner that will lead to you eventually having the freedom and time to be with your kids and raise your kids and still be able to, you know, bust your ass and work hard, but not be afraid to extend yourself out too far to the point where you could really be in trouble. You know, I think you got this, man.
I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. So let's get some actionable steps in here for you, because there's no sense in a pep talk if you're not going to do something with this. And so, like, I wasn't going to put this out there, but I am. I'm kind of working on a little something on the side for people who want to. This doesn't quite pertain to you, but I think it will help you. It's going to be an online course for people to go out and it's going to teach you all about how to start your own business. Your own welding
Okay,
business.
awesome.
And yeah, so I just finished up the script. We're going to be launching this. I don't know. It's taking a lot freaking longer because there's so many intricate details that are involved with just explaining everything out. I thought I could just just throw my ideas down, blah blah blah. This is gonna be like an 8-hour video course. Like
Oh, wow.
not even joking. So I want to get you in on this just to just so that you can have an idea of some of the things that we talked about. Because you've already been in business, I think a lot of this is going to be repetitive for you, but I just want to help you out any way I can. So I want to keep in contact and get you on board with this as soon as we launch it. And then we'll just kind of, I want to keep up to date and see how you're doing, man. So let's set some goals for you. So you said that you already talked to your accountant to go get your EIN, start another EIN, right?
Yes.
Okay. What are your relationships like with your old customers? Do you want to go back to any of your old customers? Do you want to stay in that line of work, or do you just want to try to find something new?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's still people that I keep in touch with, and I've even had people tell me if I do step back out to let them know.
Perfect. What does your wife think about you doing this?
Well, when I was in business, she was iffy about it, but now that I work for somebody, she's wanting me to go back into business for myself.
Good. So she's on board, because that's really important.
Yes.
Having a supportive
100%.
wife in business is very important. Yes. Okay. No, that's awesome. Do you, so like without getting into too much detail, are you financially ready to go and start to do this? Like, do you have like any credit that you can use to front for materials, or like, are you financially ready for this, or do you need some runway?
I need some runway, to be honest.
Okay. Um, what do you think? Like 6 months? Do you think you could be in a spot like that?
Yeah, probably
Maybe a
so.
year? Okay,
Yeah, six
gotcha.
months.
What are you able to throw together a rig that you can, so explain to me your truck situation.
Currently, I've got a just a 2011 F-150 right now, but that's what I
Mm-hmm.
have been doing a huge majority of the side work that I still do out of.
Okay. Do your tools live on that truck?
Yes, for the most part, they do.
Okay. Is that the truck that you drive back and forth to your out of town work too?
No, I've got a company truck that I drive for them.
Okay. So you've got a truck that you can set up and just keep it
Yes,
set up for side work. Awesome.
absolutely.
Very cool. Yeah, it's funny because like for um 5 6 years, I never had anything other than my 96 F350 to drive. Like date nights, guess what? We're going in the F50 with all my tools in it. Like going to anywhere nice, and I have to drive. Guess what? We're taking my truck, and it's loaded down with steel and a welder and oxygen tanks and everything. You know what I mean? Like I kept it looking good, but like I I didn't have a second vehicle until February of 2020. So so yeah, I mean that's full time. Like I was even moonlighting
Yeah.
with everything in my truck. So longer than that, I'd say probably 8 years, 10 years. I've had that thing as a work truck. So that's cool that you can actually keep that set up. Um, do you feel like this is the right time for you to go out and start calling? So back it up a little bit. I would prioritize um day jobs that require very little material. So like repairs.
Yeah.
Those sorts of things are real easy to go and just take, 5 6 hours or even a day. Just go get cash. The only thing it costs you is fuel and welding supplies.
Yeah.
And maybe just a little tiny bit of steel or something like that. You know what I mean? But do you feel like you're in a spot where you're able to start calling those people to just grab a day of work like every time you're home, or maybe 2 days?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Are you doing that now?
Yeah. Yeah. Usually, so I drove out yesterday, so I'll go home again next Thursday. Typically,
Mm-hmm.
the start of the week that I go home, I'll just start reaching out to a bunch of people. Hey, I'll have such and such days off. If you have anything lined up or you need anything, just let me know.
Okay. So you've already started. You're already like doing side hustles while you're home.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. How are those working out for you?
Pretty good.
Okay.
I done pretty decent last year on side hustles.
How many customers do you have who you do that for?
Got roughly 3 to 4 main ones that I do a lot of work for.
Okay. How many days are you staying busy while you're at home?
Typically, at least 4 or 5 of the 6 I'm home is what I push for.
Oh wow. Holy cow. So you're really hustling now.
Yeah.
Dang. Good for you, man.
Yeah. I
Full
work.
Are those full days, or are those just like 2 hours here or whatever?
Uh, for the most part, some of them is full days.
Okay.
Because I've got experience running screw pipe and weld pipe and all that, so I'll do whatever it takes to make it happen. And I went and spent a day running screw pipe in a performance shop uh, last summer. Yeah, it was last summer because it was miserable. Uh,
Mhm.
and done that for them. So yeah, I mean, if it's there, I'm going to go do it.
Okay. What do you think is going to make you feel comfortable with quitting your job and going back and do this full time?
That's a good question.
Because I feel like you need to define that in order to
Yeah,
know when the right time is. And that might not be an answer that you come up with right now. But
yeah,
for you and your family, working, what, 13 out of 14 days, that's
yeah,
not sustainable for
no,
for you or your family. So something has to. So you need to define a time where you hit something, where it's whether it's an amount of money in the bank, whether it's a time of year. I think you should define a date that you need to have a hard evaluation, but I think
yeah,
you need to have definition, like you have to define these are the milestones I need to hit by this date, and then make a decision. Then I think it would be smart to do your due diligence. I mean, health insurance for your 2 adults and 4 kids is not cheap.
no,
And I think that, I think there are creative ways that you can at least get your kids covered, while you make that leap. And I think that's ethically fine with doing that. I think, it's, you can line up work, you can tell people that this is going to be the date. I mean, I wouldn't tell anybody. I would just make it a conversation with you and your wife and mark a time on the calendar. I think one of those thresholds needs to be how much you have in the bank, because that
yeah,
really helps. That I mean, cash is king. Like just having money to pay your bills. I think that's one of the things that needs to be defined. I think you need to. Yeah, I think it's a matter of building your confidence back up and seeing that, hey, I really can do this. I think having a clear goal of the work that you're going to choose going forward, you need to you need to build a business plan. You need to,
yeah,
just a one-page business plan, and those are the rules that you stick to. Like talk it over with your wife and say, these are the mistakes that we made last time. We're going to mitigate them in this business plan by doing this. And if I say that I want to deviate from this, you got to kick my ass, because
she will.
I don't want to make any stupid decisions. And, that has to be a conversation. And I think it needs to be in writing. I learned that when things are not in writing, obviously you have to, but like when it comes
Yeah,
to more so like when like standard operating procedures with guys on my team, if things are not in writing, then it's hard to, oh, I forgot about this. Oh, you know what? I shouldn't have done that. Whereas and then when those decisions come up or those issues come up, it's not, especially because it's just you and your wife. It's not a question of, hey, you're wrong. It's, hey, these are the rules that we both agreed upon. We're going to stick to these. So it kind of transfers the blame off of you. And rather than her coming at you or you coming at her with what you want to do, you can just say, hey, these are the rules we both agreed to. That way it deflects it over back to the rules that you both agreed upon, rather than like it being a problem personally. It's it's an issue that we had to work through, and we have the rules and we have the instructions right here. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I would definitely do that. I would say, define the kind of work you're going to chase. I would say you need to figure out how you're going to pay for things. If you're going to take out a business credit card, if you're going to float it on personal, or get line of credit, or pay for cash or whatever. You know what I mean? Define that out on paper, because that is, you need to figure that out. Yeah, and just chase the work until, I would say, as you do this, one of the things I tried to hit on before, but I kind of got distracted, was begin with the end in mind. if you are, how I gave the example of 45, 50, 60 years old, what do you want your business to look like then? Do you want to have guys working for you and you go in there a couple days a week and just make sure everything's happening? Do you want to be the one man solo guy who goes out there and you're just killing it? You know what I mean? Like, your body hurts, but like you
Yeah.
make an honest living and you come home and you forget about it because you don't have to worry about payroll. Because I think it all depends on, I think defining that depends on your level of comfort with, the responsibility that you want. Some guys don't want any responsibility. They just want to go out in their truck a couple days a week, charge $150 an hour and just, they're happy with that. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's a pretty great life. You know what I mean? But long term, you can't do that until you're 80. Or you can, but it's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be rough.
It's gonna hurt. Yeah. So I think you need to define, do you want to shop on your property? Are you okay with a drive? Do you just want to do mobile work? Is it something, do you want to scale out and do more project management stuff? Do you want to be out there welding on handrails with one or two guys? You know what I mean? Like, I think you need to figure out what the end goal looks like as well as what the short-term goal looks like, and then structure it like that.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like for you.
Absolutely.
All right. I talked enough. Do you have anything else that you have any more questions? You want anything to add? Like I said, man, like, you've done this before. I know you can do this again. I want to help you out any way I can. I hope this conversation has motivated you and realize that, like, the situations that you felt yourself that you were in were self-induced because you just didn't understand, and unfortunately they just dealt with some big numbers, and you've learned those lessons. And like, the biggest thing that kills businesses is cash flow. And if you can get a handle on that, man, it seems like you have no problem doing the work. It seems like you've got decent customers and you've got it. You just need to understand that you can do this again and just know where you went wrong and just don't put yourself there again.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Cody, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate you being open and honest about this. I've really enjoyed just hearing your story, and even though it was probably kind of painful to pick out those scabs of what happened back in the day, I appreciate you sharing that, man. I really look forward
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I look forward to following you with your side hustle, and I believe that one day you'll be up running again full time. You'll look back at this conversation that we had. You'll find this podcast a couple of years, and you'll look back and laugh.
Good deal. I appreciate you having me.
Awesome. Absolutely, buddy. I appreciate you, Cody, man. I'll talk to you soon, man.
I mean, see you, bud.
All right, later on.